with another podcast, and we're going to pick Alex's brain today about stretching. So there's still lots of, I guess, misinformation around when to stretch, how to stretch, before or after training, all that good stuff. So there's no other better person really to talk about this than the physiotherapist, Alex. So Alex, when is the best time to stretch, I guess, on a broad thing, and maybe we dig into it as we go through?
Yeah, so, okay, well, first of all, I think before we start talking about how often you should stretch, what are the there's different types of stretching as well, okay? So, actually there's many different types, but the two main types of stretching is dynamic stretches and static stretches, okay? So, dynamic stretches, they don't particularly help you improve your flexibility, which is kind of the whole point of stretching, right? But they are actually good as a warm-up, okay? So dynamic stretches, what it actually means is you instead of holding a certain position, you are moving, okay? So, for example, sort of an example of a dynamic stretch would be leg swings, right? So you're kind of swinging your leg up back and forward, side to side, maybe do some arm circles, that kind of thing. So those kind of stretches, they don't necessarily help you free up your muscles long term, but they will get the blood flowing through your joints, through your body, so it actually gets you ready to start a workout, okay? So it kind of reduces the risk of injury, okay? So those dynamic stretches, they are actually good to do before your workout, okay? So it's a good way to warm up, all right? Now, when it comes to isometric or static stretching, they are better to do either after a workout or independently of the workout, okay? Now, if you are going for if you're going to exercise with quite a bit of intensity, particularly if it involves running, so whether you're running or playing a team sport like soccer or rugby, it's not particularly advisable to do very intense static stretching immediately before you particularly run and sprint, okay? Why? Because they've actually done some studies. There's one particular study they did on a large sample of soccer players, and they actually found that if you do very intense hamstring stretches prior to a game of soccer, you're actually more likely to get a hamstring strain. Okay, so it's the likelihood increases by only a very small margin, but it is there. So essentially, what it tells us is that static stretches are very important to improve your flexibility, but you shouldn't really be overstretching immediately before you start an intense workout, okay? But static stretches are important because, let's say if you're having difficulty touching your toes, that means you've got tight hamstrings. It will actually affect your lower back as well. So tight hamstrings and also other muscles in the body, they actually help tightness in those areas will actually affect your function. Okay, so it may give you lower back pain. It may give you dysfunction around the shoulder joint if there's certain muscles in the back of the shoulder that are tight. So yes, static stretching is important. But okay, in summary, so you do it either after the end of the workout or just randomly throughout the day. You can also do static stretches as well.
So if you're going to break down, for people that wouldn't know what a dynamic stroke static stretch is, how would you describe a dynamic stretch?
So dynamic stretch is basically you're moving. You keep moving. Okay, like your leg swings, your arm circles. An arm circle is like that sort of thing. So you're not holding the stretch. You just move through the stretch. Okay. Static stretch, on the other hand, you sustain. So usually for anywhere between 15 to 30 seconds, you get into a position and you hold it. So let's say if it's a hamstring stretch, most people do it, they stand up, they put their foot on the chair, legs straight in front, and they're trying to touch their toes, okay? So that's a typical static hamstring stretch, right? So you sustain a stretch for a certain period of time.
That's good. I watched a video the other day actually on this very topic, and they were saying if you, for performance, as you just said, you shouldn't static stretch before because it inhibits your performance of that particular thing, right? And the way they described it was like elastic band. So if you were to pull an elastic band and it gets nice and loose, then when you come to exercise, because it's already loose now, the tendons and muscles are loose, it doesn't generate as much force as it would do to do that movement. So they did an experiment on a standing static jump.
Right.
So they said the people that stretched before standing static jump actually jumped less than people if they didn't, because the muscles are actually got more tension on them because they haven't been stretched before. So
Sure.
that kind of sounds about right, yeah.
Yep.
Good. One thing I will ask you as well, because I remember doing this at PT school, was the Golgi tendon organ, all that stuff, like stretch reflexes. Remember much about that?
Sure. Yeah.
So, like, because I thought it was really interesting. I mean, maybe it may be over the heads of these people, but like, there's a stretch reflex in your muscles, isn't it?
That's right.
And then you got the other type of stretching, which you haven't said, but was PNF stretching, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, like, would you be able to explain what that is, or they put you on the spot a little bit?
Well, I mean, look, okay, so a simple example of that would be like your knee-jerk reflex, right? So sometimes you go to the doctor and they check your knee reflex, so they'll hit you just below the kneecap, and so your foot will kind of come up. So that's like pretty much a good example of what happens when the Golgi tendon organ is involved. So how is it relevant to stretching? So there's something called PNF stretching. Okay, so that means before you stretch the muscle, you tense up the muscle. Okay, so like an example would be to try and if we're talking about the hamstring, you try to drive your heel into the ground. Okay, this is kind of more advanced stuff. Okay, so you don't necessarily have to follow this, but let's say if you were to tense up your hamstring muscle first, and then immediately after you relax, you try and stretch. Generally speaking, you actually get a better stretch, because what happens if you contract a muscle, it will then allow the muscle to relax more efficiently. Okay, so that's why a muscle contraction followed by a stretch is actually more effective way of stretching than just stretching by itself. Okay, but look, I think for most people, just stretching is fine. Like just hold the contraction for a certain number of seconds, usually between 15 to 30 seconds. Like if you want to take it up to the next level, you can try what's called PNF stretching, which is what I described. I think to be able to do it, if you don't actually know what it is, we probably need to create a different podcast on this,
Sure.
Just dedicated to that.
Yeah, put it on the spot there, which is good. But I mean, like, stretching is really important. Not enough of us do it. I certainly don't do enough of it, to be honest with you. I mean, no one does, so.
Yeah, I actually created a video just a couple of weeks ago about it. So, I mean, realistically, you should be stretching at least 3-4 times a week, okay? And there's so many different muscles in the body. Realistically, if you try to stretch every single muscle in the body, it will take you an hour. Like, that's what yoga session is, okay? About an hour, right? Look, no one has time, 3-4 times a week to do your normal workout plus do the stretching on top of it. I would say there are probably 7-8 major muscle groups in the body. At least if you can take care of those muscles, and those are the muscles that are that are prone to being tired. So I would say hamstrings, calves, quads, hip flexors, upper trapezius, which is up here, the muscle there, chest muscles, your kind of mid back, shoulder blade muscles at the back, and so for some people maybe a bit of triceps as well. So if you just kind of like target those 7-8 muscle groups, I think that will kind of cover most of the bases. Okay.
I guess this is as well. I mean, if you're not stretching now and you decided to stretch one body part a day, it's gonna be better than doing nothing, isn't it? So it's all about progression anyway. So which is cool. So that video is on Facebook, isn't it?
Yeah, it's on Facebook, on YouTube as well.
Nice. All right, good, cool. Any questions, team? Leave it down below. As always, if you could, we're getting quite a lot of downloads for our podcast now, which is awesome. So if you could review it or like it as well, it does help us get the podcast out there. So please do that. Otherwise, we'll see you on the next podcast.
Fantastic.
Okay, guys, so I hope you found the podcast of value. If you did and you're struggling with your own health and fitness journey, there's a link in the description for a free discovery call with me. And that free discovery call, we're going to cover off a little bit about you, your history, your goals, what you want to achieve, and maybe we can help you or not with your own health and fitness goal. So if that does sound like